Coaching is never an easy task on any level. Coaching basketball is intricate. Coaching basketball on every level is demanding, but doing so on the lowest level, so to speak, the high school level, you have to be a little bit of everything in the process, from a teacher to a parent to a disciplinarian to an instructor to a counselor, you name it. A gentleman that joins us now has experienced a lot of that, coached on the college level at Loyola as well, but you talk about a guy that's been coaching for well over 4 decades. He's done a tremendous job in every stop he's made. Now he's got a new book out to talk about it. He is Coach Jerry Hernandez. Jerry, it's a pleasure. Welcome to the show.
On tonight.
Well, it's good to have you with us. All right. So what inspired you to do this? The 600-plus little things that make a big difference for boys and girls basketball coaches. How did you get the idea? What inspired you to do it?
Well, I guess part of it was the quarantine or the self-quarantine that we all had to go through for the last 5 or 6 months, and sitting around thinking about what I can do. So I started thinking about what happened about 25 years ago, 1995, after our 1994-95 season at Loyola, when we had a really good basketball team. We won the Southwest Region Championship and went to the national tournament, the NAI Division II national tournament. That after that season was over, the LHSAA called and wanted to know if I wanted to be one of the presenters at their summer clinic. And, of course, I readily accepted, and they said, look, you can choose any subject that you'd like to talk about. So I said, okay, great. So I started thinking about this as the summer time came close, and I said, every time I go to a clinic, I always hear guys talking about out-of-bounds plays and special plays and three-point plays and offenses and defenses and things like that. I said, I'd like to do something a little different. So what I did was I sat down and I wrote down about 20 little things that I had been doing during my my practice sessions and pre-practice and postseason and how I handled certain situations, and came out with about 20 or 25 of them. I can't remember exactly how many, and went up there and gave my little presentation, and surprisingly, it was pretty well received. And a number of coaches came by and said, Coach, that was pretty interesting. I've never heard a presentation like that, but I really like some of the little things you're doing. So here it was, 5 or 6 months ago, when we were all stuck at home and not being able to do much. I said, I'm kind of quote unquote retired now, and maybe I could do something to give back to the game that's been part of my life for so long. And I said, you know what? I remember what I did 25 years ago. Maybe I could write a book like that. And I said, certainly what I'll do is I have to have some help from a lot of my coaching colleagues. Mm-hmm. And that's really how it got started.
Jim Floyd, my good friend, wrote the foreword for you, and it's pretty good. I read it a little bit earlier, and I started to read the book a little bit too when I got here today, and really enjoyed some of the details you talked about, because you're a detail guy, aren't you?
Well, very much so. We've especially when we were at Loyola, with no scholarships and no institutional funding, we never got those real stud athletes, and so we had to be really, really, as you said, detail oriented. We had to be able to run our offenses right, and we had to be able to be in the right place at the right time, and so this is kind of right up my alley, and I've enjoyed so much. And you talk about Coach Floyd. I gave him a copy of the book, and kind of early on. I had about 450 things at that time, not over 650, and I said, Coach, I said, if you read this and you feel as though you can endorse this, I said, I would love for you to be able to write the foreword for the book for me. And he called me back about 3 days later. He said, man, some of this stuff is really, really good. Mm-hmm. He said, and I've never really thought about the fact that high school coaches have so much on their shoulders. Heck, 95% of everything that happens in a high school coach's basketball program falls on his shoulders. And as Coach said in his foreword, they always stay in 5-star hotels, and they travel, on planes, and they eat in good restaurants, and high school coaches, have to go through all the rough stuff and deal with so many different aspects of it. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated Coach deciding to write the forward and endorsing the book for us, because he's a special man. I can tell you.
You got a lot of coaches that are quoted in here and that are part and parcel. But if I had to pick one quote that I really like the most, I liked your quote. There are two kinds of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Take your pick. Amen.
Oh, I have had that in my locker room for so long, and you try to talk to your players and you try to give them things that they can walk away with, and I know my players remember that one, because I talk about it all the time, and again, this is one of those little things, and it's the fact that I've been able to get the help of so many really great coaches just added to this whole thing here, and the idea of putting locker room slogans interspersed throughout the book was kind of something I just kind of thought about later on. I said, if some of these things are really good, and a lot of these coaches are so successful, they have to have things that I've never heard of before that I think are good, and so I think it added to it. But the lineup of coaches that are part of this is just incredible, and I mean I couldn't be happier. And they were so enthusiastic about this because they had never seen a book like this before. Neither had I. So I said, this is something different, and I think it's going to be a success. Because we just started talking about it, outside of our own circles here for about the last 3 days. So we've got a long way to go to market it and get it out and see if it'll help coaches all over the country.
Well, that's the goal, and we encourage people to go to sportseducationexperience.com. That's sportseducationexperience.com. Book's called 600 Plus Little Things That Make a Big Difference for Boys and Girls Basketball Coaches by my friend, Coach Jerry Hernandez. I think you'd really enjoy reading it. We'll follow up. We encourage you to go to the website. Again, that's sportseducationexperience.com. But, Jerry, we'll promote it more in the weeks to come, and I can't wait to finish reading it. I started today, and I was intrigued and fascinated, especially by a lot of the guys that I know that are part of the book. So thank you so much. Keep up the great work, and we'll get the message out for you, buddy.
Thanks a lot, Kenny. I sure appreciate you having me on tonight.
It's my pleasure, Coach. Jerry Hernandez.
Okay.